Running to be the next Prime Minister of Canada is Chrystia Freeland. She's the former Deputy Prime Minister and former Minister of Finance. She joins me now. Ms. Freeland, appreciate you being with us. First of all, what do you make of this whiplash coming from the White House, the full steam ahead on tariffs and on pause, and there are more threats? Is this a coherent strategy?
Well, look, there have been more flip-flops than we can keep track of here in Canada. But what we do know is, the Prime Minister is right, the Wall Street Journal is right. These are the dumbest tariffs in history. This is utterly self-mutilating. It's really a perverse approach, Anderson, because America is hurting itself. Moving in this direction, the president is killing the U.S. stock market. Your stock market is actually performing worse than the stock market in Europe or in Canada. You're going to raise the prices on gas. You're going to raise the prices on groceries. You're going to make electricity more expensive. And all for what reason? Because Canadians aren't nice enough? I mean, come on. This is just utterly absurd. America is hurting itself. And the end result has been to do something which is really hard to do, antagonize Canadians. There is this wave of patriotism in Canada right now, the likes of which I have never seen in my life. We started off being really hurt by this because we know that we are really good friends to you, really good neighbors. We know that so much of America's prosperity has been built on the foundation of having Canada the best neighbor in the world to your north. But now I would say Canadians are getting really angry.
Well, let me, the president has, you are a candidate to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. The president has attacked you personally, calling you a, quote, whack, and claiming credit for your resignation as finance minister and deputy prime minister. How would you approach these negotiations if you became the new head of the government? Because what the president is saying is, Canada's been ripping off American on lumber and dairy, and that this would be payback for that.
Well, Anderson, I and the vast majority of Canadians consider that name calling by the president to be juvenile, but also a compliment. And during the first negotiations we had with President Trump, there was tons of name calling. There was tons of hollering and kicking and screaming. During the negotiations themselves, his nickname for me was the Killer, which I definitely took as a compliment. And the good news is, after all, coming from him, right? But the good news is, after all of that kicking and shouting and screaming, and after the president said he was going to rip up his trade deal with us, we renegotiated it. He said the new deal that we have now was the best trade deal ever. I negotiated it. I happen to agree with him. He did impose tariffs on us. My response was dollar for dollar retaliation. And after a few months, without any concessions, he lifted those tariffs. And the reason for that, Anderson, is, the laws of economics, they're like the laws of gravity. You can do all kinds of social media posts and make up funny names. But at the end of the day, the laws of economics prevail. And the reality is, your economic relationship with us is great. It is balanced. It is mutually beneficial. It is good for the United States. It is good for Canada. And that's why, as Prime Minister, my approach would be united, strong, and smart. I'm sure there would be lots of insults. I'm sure there would be lots of name calling. And I'm also sure at the end of the day, we would get back to a win-win.
Ms. Freeland, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Joining me now is former chair of the Council of Economic Advisors under President Joe Biden, our friend Jared Bernstein. Jared, so in a new msnbc.com article, you say that the tariffs are already taking a toll on the economy from the rising uncertainty felt by consumers and businesses. And you cite the February plunge in the Consumer Confidence Index. So what is worse? Is it the uncertainty? Is it the